Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
And I really love that intro, Mr. Mendoza. We should try to get everybody back on. We had Mr. Marek on the other day, so that was terrific. We've got a wonderful show today. Of course, I want to thank everybody at Warren Henry for sponsoring the show. They've been a sponsor for 10 plus years now. We'll have Sam Grossman on today. He'll want to do the Warren Henry shout out for me later on in the show. So I know Sam's warming up for that. And today our topic is AI, big data, and commercial real estate in the future. We've got Sam Grossman on from Inveniam. Sam is one of our technology gurus. They focus on big data. So is Sam out there, Mr. Mendoza?
I'm here, Jim.
There he is. Sam is the managing director for real estate at Inveniam. We're going to talk about big data and real estate. And Sam, I got my pen.
Me too.
I got my notepad. I maybe during the break I should put on my little pullover. I'm Mr. Inveniam now. I got the pullover and the hoodie, so it's tremendous. We love our friends at Inveniam. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to have a young man that interned for me over the summer, Simon Coffsky, also my nephew, and Simon's studying big data, AI, and its impact at the University of Georgia. So we're going to hear why it makes sense for a young person's perspective to go into this field. So Sam, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Tell us a little bit, lay the foundation for us about Inveniam data and the impact that you see. You know, the hot topic the last couple of months has been AI. I know that you've been working on that for a while. Tell us how all that kind of integrates and what the impact on the future is, and then I'll have some more follow-up questions.
Well, everything begins and ends with data. So Inveniam is a data operating system. It credentials, verifies, and anchors your data to the blockchain. What that really does is it creates transparency. It creates what we call better data because you're dealing with the verified data that has not been manipulated. Once that data is credentialed, verified, and anchored, you can utilize it in any way, shape, or form that you want. It's sort of a one-click version of what you want, how you want, when you want. So it starts with data. You know, AI is a technology that allows you to utilize and read data in a more efficient manner, in a very simplistic way of describing. Now, it's very complex. I'm not going to get into the bells and whistles of how it all works because, frankly, I don't know how it all works. But what I do know is that with Inveniam starting to build out this ecosystem, adding AI to it, we're creating a more efficient marketplace and more efficient industry. And that is because you're basing it on transparency, better data, better value, and allowing you to actually utilize that better data to make an efficient decision.
So it's my understanding the way that AI works is that it surveys the data, learns from the data, and then uses its ability to predict things that are going to happen based on the data. So it's just like any other computer, garbage in, garbage out. So having the data from a source such as Inveniam, where the data is verified and is certified, I guess is the best way to say it, is a great way and is, to me, the underpinning of what is needed before AI can actually be useful.
You said it. I mean, you nailed it. Bingo. Surprise, James Freed gets the concept. It's exactly that. You know, garbage in is garbage out. But the amazing thing about AI technology is the more processes, the more workflows, the more data it reads, the smarter it gets. And the first versions of AI, you were talking about 100,000 to 200,000 of the same piece of this reading of the same document to become, fully educated and raise a 93% confidence level to a 99. The new versions, the new grades, the updated versions of AI, the AI that Inveniam's using, it's closer to 7,000 to 8,000, but you're starting at a much higher confidence level. So, is it perfect? No. But is anything perfect? Maybe our wives. That's about it, Jim.
Well said.
But, it's just another way that technology is eventually going to make the world more efficient, especially the most inefficient marketplace in the world, which is the industry that we live in, which is real estate.
So, Sam, you mentioned one of the words that I think is very important when you talk about manipulating data, and I think that can be done in a good way or a bad way. You're verifying the data, so you're making sure that, one of the big concerns about AI is that it's going to create bad data, that it's going to use bad data, it's going to manipulate the data in a way that's going to hide things. I think that the way that you and your algorithms work is the exact opposite, that it's making the data clearer, more transparent, and easier to use to make good decisions. Let's talk about the data and some of it that you use.
That's exactly it. We're the most important thing to understand is that there's two forms of verifying data. There's verifying data on previous iterations of the same data. So take for a rent roll, for example. Rent rolls change from time to time. Leases get renewed. But if there are any, glaring differences from version 1 to version 2, a red flag goes up, a notification is sent to the owner of that data, and clarification is provided. What we're not doing is actually going to the property and going door to door and verifying that that person that is on the lease is actually living there, right? So it's an important differentiation to make. We're verifying the data that we've been provided. We're verifying it based on previous versions. We're verifying it based on underlying and source documents. So, for example, rent rolls are based on the lease, right? P&Ls are based on the rent roll, which are based on the lease. Investments are based on the P&L, which is based on the underlying financials, and then of course back to the operating agreement and the cap stack. So by linking those source documents, we allow the user to get as granular as they want, all the way back to the origination.
So, Sam, when I graduated college, right before they invented the fire and the wheel, actually, it was right at the time they invented the personal computer. We went from using 1 year using all this paper to actually having a compact computer that had a little green screen about this big, and it was basically carrying around the CPU. Thank God I was in my 20s, or I think it would have killed me. And what we did was we worked with the audit department, and we learned how to look at things. The audit department taught us, and we would build the numbers from the bottom to the top. We would take a look at what the finished product was. We'd compare one set of numbers to the other, one project to the other, and we'd look for inconsistencies in the flow of the numbers, which would be the tip-off for us to look deeper. Sounds like now that's what you're doing, and that's how you certify it, and you're using artificial intelligence, and I would assume supplemental eyeballs to do that.
You got it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's taking the human error out, because what we're doing is we're automating workflow processes. So what in the past used to take, as you said, numerous PDFs, manually downloading and inputting into Microsoft Excel, and having 20 or 30 tab Excel spreadsheets that were linked to this and linked to that. What we've done is we've automated that process by linking the source documents and creating basically a table of contents, which we call a data artifact summary, which is equivocally a table of contents. So it lists all the things that you can see, and you can just click on them and go to it.
I really like the term. I like the term data artifacts.
Yeah, I wish I could take credit for that, but instead I just use it in my vernacular. But the days of the number 2 pencil are over, right? Legal pads and number 2 pencils are a thing of the past. So we're automating those processes and digitalizing those processes.
I just looked at my desk. That's what I was doing. I don't have a number 2 pencil. Wait. Do I? Yeah, I do, but it's my Marlins pencil to do the scorecard with, and it's obviously never been used. So it's just that's my one number 2. I don't even know if that's a number 2 pencil. It doesn't have the number on it. So Sam, let's take a step back now, and we're going to gather this data. What do you do with the data once you gather it? You provide it to your clients. Is it used for valuations? What's the next step with the data?
Yeah, so there's 2 forms, right? Just the data management, the anchoring to the blockchain, and the structuring of the data is sufficient enough for some clients. Some clients have, regulated funds and are required to do annual or even quarterly valuations. So once you have, the data structured, we can push it to any one or anything that we need. So if the client requires evaluation, then we push that extracted data into an Argus model, automated process. So basically, when the appraiser gets the data, they usually spend, on average 3 to 5 weeks collecting the data, and then 2 weeks actually valuing the asset. We're flipping that around, and we're allowing them. We're shrinking that timeline down to about a total of 4 weeks. And we said we instead of spending 75% of the time collecting the data, they're spending 75% of the time valuing it. And that's a very important, efficient piece. Obviously, the faster you can utilize the data, the more efficiently you can utilize the data. It's all available. The client manages their own data, their own portal, their own platform, and we just link to it and we extract it. So you don't have the privacy issues. You don't have the worry of, monetizing other people's data. We're not in the business of monetizing data. We're in the business of structuring data.
So we keep using the word data. Let's talk about what that data might be. So let's use an office building as an example. The office building, it's across the street. Right now it has an electronic system that regulates the air conditioning. Maybe it's the electric. It has a swipe card so you can tell who's going in and out of the garage, in and out of the different floors if they're using the swipe card on the elevator, and if they're using the swipe card on the office door, who's going in and out of the door. So that right there provides real-time, good data on what's going on in the building. What other types of data do you guys collect?
By the way, that's a great example of how technology can be used in a positive and efficient manner, and how technology and the collection of data can fall into that faux pas of monetizing other people's data. So that technology is great because it allows for utility efficiency. It allows for censored lighting and AC and electrical, right? Because based on the data you're collecting, the peak times and the not so peak times. So therefore you can, save on utilizing that data. That's the positive side. The negative side is by swiping that card, whoever is aggregating that data knows exactly where you are, when you're there, what you're doing. And that data is very valuable to some data aggregators. So just want to make that point. But as far as other
Well,
data.
hold it right there. Hold it right there. So you have the data that you have mined. Okay, that's what we would call it. Then you got the data mining people. It's one of the reasons I stopped using Facebook and Instagram, because I don't want to provide them with my data. I don't really find those to be valuable platforms for me. I can share photos with the people on my shared photo thing and stuff like that. So I really just use LinkedIn at this point as a business tool, but I really don't believe in going with the data miners anymore. So you collect the data, but you keep it private so that the owner of the data doesn't share it unless, I guess, somebody signed some kind of release or something. And you allow that data to be taken in to create valuations by the appraisers, to give it to the, I forget, it's not the people that control the different investments.
The asset managers.
The asset managers, thank you. And they can all make better decisions. I think that last time you were on, your big mantra was better data, better decisions.
Better data creates better value, which allows you to make better decisions. Yes.
Okay.
We don't collect the data. We extract the data. Big difference. We don't have a data warehouse. The client updates and stores the data and the documents on their own shared drive, and we link to it. We extract out the data artifacts. This is using AI, of course. You establish the data points that you want to pull out on a consistent basis, and that's really what we're doing. We're taking data on a piece of paper or a digital PDF, and we are extracting it out into a actionable form or format. It's basically just, if you think about it, it's like a scissors, or a camera. You're taking a snapshot, you're turning that number into, some sort of digital usable format, and pushing it into, some sort of processor to get the export that you want.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a break right here. Mr. Mendoza, let's take a break. We'll come back with Sam Grossman. We've got him for another few minutes after this. And then we'll be joined by college student Simon Coffsky, who's going to talk about how the younger generation views all of this technology evolution and the impact of big data and AI, and why they might choose to have a career in this sector. Mr. Mendoza, it's yours. Hey, everybody. Jim Freed here. I want to thank our friends, the high-tech folks at Warren Henry. Thank you to Larry, Eric, Warren, Ismet, Maytel, the whole team over, Geo, everybody over at Warren Henry Automotive. I want to thank them so much for sponsoring our podcast and radio show that's been on for many, many decades, many, many years now. They've been on for well over a decade. I think we're entering our 13th year with Warren Henry as a sponsor. So they're a member of our family. I think that they'd be a great member of your family. Remember, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar. I actually had a friend of mine ask about Audi. He's talking to the guys up at the Audi store in Gainesville. And also, of course, they have Lincoln up at 151st and Biscayne with all the other nameplates. Down in the Keys, they've got all those great nameplates. Down in South Dade, they've got a new Land Rover, Range Rover store. What do all those great cars have in common? Well, they're all great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry Advantage. By now, our regular listeners know that the Warren Henry Advantage is a long list of services that you get when you buy your Warren Henry car. They make sure, of course, that your car's in tip-top shape. You can bring it in. They'll give you a loaner car when you get it serviced. They'll replace your keys. Here they are right here. You all know about those keys. They cost a whole lot of money if you lose those keys. They're computer driven at this point. They'll make sure your car looks good. If you kiss the curb when you're parking, they'll polish up your rims to make sure your rims look great. They'll guarantee you're getting the best value on your trade-in or on your used car that you're trading in. They'll make sure you're getting the best price for your lease or your new purchase. They will give you 3 days to make sure you like that purchase. Pretty much nobody ever turns their car back in because they're all tremendous cars. So you should join me, my beautiful wife, Vivian, my mom, lots and lots of my friends. One of my clients called me and I gave him the intro to Larry last week. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. Hi, I'm Jim Freed. I travel in the grand circles of real estate capital and real estate technology innovation. I help my friends, family offices, clients, customers, real estate operating companies, institutional investors, service providers, all come together to make the best real estate decisions. I've just been working with one family to help them raise new capital for their real estate fund. I'm working with another investment group that's actually seeking to invest in some of these real estate funds. And of course, you see us talking to Inveniam and all the other prop tech firms about how to best utilize the latest trends in real estate. I do all of that to help make sure that my clients and customers can sleep well at night. My personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by helping them solve their problems. And like I said, helping them sleep well at night. Reach out to me, DM me. We've got traditional capital. We've got alternative capital. We've got all kinds of ways to solve your real estate problems in today's real estate, credit, debt, and equity crunch. Remember, call me, DM me, email me, because whenever you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
Well, we're on today with our good friend, Sam Grossman. He's the managing director at Inveniam. Mr. Mendoza. There he is. Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Great, Jim.
Now, Sam, let's talk a little bit about the Inveniam value proposition. You're out there, you're creating value, you're accumulating data, you're verifying the data is provided to you. How do we know that it's good data?
Well, it's a great question. When we say good data, we mean that the original document hasn't been manipulated. You can see, with the advantage of blockchain, you can see the audit trail, who's touched what document at what time. Again, we don't have subject matter experts that are going in and going past the steps of verifying based on previous information, previous versions, and underlying source documents. Better data to
Here, let me comment on that for just a second, Sammy. So right out of college, I would spend Saturday afternoons. I'd have a stack of leases, that high. I'd go over them. I'd learn the pattern of the leases. If I was blessed, they'd be using the same lease form. Most of the time, I had 2 or 3 different lease forms for the same property, and I'd have to go through it. I'd have to make sure that the data was all the same. I'd have to go to this here's where the lease started. Here's where the lease ended. Here's the lease options. If it was on a different form, I'd have to flip through. It would take me, the afternoon, if not days, depending on how many leases there were and how many properties I was doing. And that provided me the ability to then do the pro formas, which I had to plug them into these multi-tabbed Excel spreadsheets. And that was only when I got lucky and we were using Excel. Before that, we had to do all the calculations by hand and get them checked by the audit department. So you said audit trail, and that's what really piqued my mind, because you really have to take a look at what's going on. And there are different patterns that you see and different inconsistencies that you see. And then that's what you check when you're doing the audit to make sure that the data is consistent. I think that what you're really looking for is red flags in the data. That's sort of where the AI you use comes in handy. Yes, no,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, we're looking for inconsistencies based on previous versions. Again, through the anchoring to the blockchain, a hash is created, and that hash is basically a serial number for that document itself. If one pixel is changed on that document, it gets rehashed. You're going to see that in the audit trail. It's all about transparency at the end of the day. It's about being able to see what you want, when you want, how you want. So the example that you just used of having different forms of leases, it's the same, the modern version of that problem is different softwares, and different softwares shooting out financials and reports in different formats. When as an asset owner, all you want to know is look at your standardized version of the roll up or the detail, right? So at Inveniam, by linking those source documents and by actioning and extracting that data, what you get when you get that table of contents, that data artifact, is a standardized version. Basically, you can give us the template and we can extract and fill it, or you can just use ours. And again, it's efficiency. It's not sifting through different versions and different formats. It's all one click away from you.
Well, my prayers were answered 40 years too late. So Sam, let's talk a minute, because you talk about blockchain, you talk about hashtags. There's many different versions of blockchain, and from what people have been reading about in the paper for Bitcoin or Ethereum, to me, when I think about blockchain, I really think about it as simply the code, the computer code that's used to safeguard the security of the data that I'm putting into it, so that I am, excuse me, so that I am certain, or can with certainty say that this is what's happened. And no one can move something without me taking a look. So as you were saying, if somebody's in there trying to fraudulently manipulate the data, I'm going to see them go in there.
Correct. Not only that, though, it's also, if you get hacked, you can shut that off and reactivate it. Meaning, you're not storing documents, you're storing a hash, right? So if you were to warn Henry, they serve water as well. It's not just an advantage and a guarantee, but they have water too. It's not. Yes, it's secure. It's a secure place. It creates transparency. It shows the audit trail of who has done what when. Imagine how valuable that could have been with the major financial issues that this country has seen in the last 6 months. Imagine if there was an audit trail, which, it's really accountability in itself, right? Because you're holding the owner of the data accountable for providing that data, right? So, and you can see who touches what when. Okay,
so we have a question. Mr. Marek, I can never get so sick. Our guest that was on last week, he's asking, does it still make sense to keep a hard paper copy in conjunction with digital? And then he uses a term that I haven't heard for a long time, a carbon copy. Remember those, or mimeographs?
It's an interesting question. My father-in-law is a CPA by trade. He's now a quarterback.
Does he wear long pants like your dad?
Oh, most of the time he does. And I joke with him all the time because, everyone has this picture of a CPA with their pocket protector and their number 2 pencils and legal pads. And I always ask him, so why is it that when I walk into your office, you still have file cabinets? And
isn't the file cabinet the token?
Well, no. But it was a good stretch. But some people, like my father-in-law, and he's of the mindset of many people out there. The newer generation doesn't know what file cabinets are, because yes, they have OneDrive, and that substitutes large, tall file cabinets. I print out PDFs and presentations because I happen to just like to write on things when I edit them. I still print out, Word documents. But my father-in-law still uses a calendar book. I use Outlook. So the answer is you do what makes you feel comfortable. If you want to have paper copies, but just know that even the IRS doesn't have a paper copy anymore of your tax return, right? They're storing a digital version of it. That's it. So, in the sake of the Lorax and a man who loves the trees, maybe print out less copies than you feel necessary, but you do you.
Oh, there's a war at my house when somebody wants to use the printer, which I just call an ink sales machine. I've got my Surface Pro, so I can draw on it and do all my electronic things and I'm kind of touching it now. There you go. See that? And so I don't want to say I'm fully electronic, but my old office in my old apartment had 4 file cabinets in it. We've been throwing file cabinets out now basically every 6 months for the last 2 years. I've gotten it down to one, which is just really my personal safety blanket, if you will. I don't really think there's any files in it anymore. That it's more like, I'm going to use the term. It's more like artifacts. Yeah,
Good use of the word. Good use of the word. I think file cabinets are just, a different version of a garbage can these days, because
they're a way station to the garbage can.
Yeah, I remember Jerry Seinfeld did a great bit on garbage, right? Like, you buy things, you get things in the mail, and it's really just, a waiting room for the garbage can, right? It may stop off at 2 or 3 places along the way, but it's going to end up in a garbage can one day. I actually saw that bit again the other day. It reminded me how funny Seinfeld.
I guess I'm going to have to now put that up on YouTube, seeing as how I don't have it on a VCR anymore.
Right.
Sam, we're running out of time. I know you have to go. I know you had to go a couple of minutes ago. So, if people want to know more about Inveniam, where do they find out about Inveniam? And Inveniam is your source for data.
Inveniam.io. It's just that simple.
Well, thank you again for bringing your wit, humor, and good looks to the show, Sam. We really appreciate you. I know you're going to be in Miami in the next couple of days. Hopefully we'll get together. If not, then I look forward to seeing you soon. My best to the entire Inveniam team, and thank you again so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Jim, and my best to the Warren Henry family as well.
Oh, you're tremendous. All right, we'll be right back. We're going to talk to Simon Coffsky. He's in school at the University of Georgia, studying economics. He's got the big data classes, the AI classes. He was my intern over the summer. We're going to see why a young person would choose to look into this field and what they're being taught and told right after this short break. Sam, take care. Have a great day.
You too.
Hey, everybody, when you're looking to buy or lease a great car, you want to get every advantage that you can. There it is. It's my Warren Henry water. You see all their different brands that they have there. Picked that up when I was at service, and I thought it was a great thing to have in the house. And then I threw it in the refrigerator, and I'm using it because Warren Henry's always there when you need them. So remember, when you're looking to buy or lease, oh, God, I need them right now. There you go. Much better. They took care of me then. They take care of you all the time. When you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry. There it is. Oh, there it is. Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar. Also, Lincoln up at 151st and Biscayne. We sent, actually, the gentleman that asked us the question earlier asked if I could help him with the Audis. So we're sending him to the Gainesville store for the Audis. And of course, down in the Keys, they sell all the great cars down there. They're all great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry Advantage. The Warren Henry Advantage is a list of services that you get if you buy your car at Warren Henry. Of course, it includes a free server, a free service loaner if you need to leave your car at the service department with my good friend Maytal Stark and her team over there. Other advantages that you get include replacement of the keys. Oh, I got my keys sitting here, so I'll do the key thing. They replace those fancy keys that you lose, which I lose pretty regularly, which is why they're on such a clunky keychain. They will make sure your car stays looking good. They'll polish up those rims that I always keep scratching up. I'm a sucker for scratching those rims up. And they will also make sure that you get the best price when you turn in your car for, the trade-in value. They'll make sure that you get the best price when you buy or lease your car. They will make sure that you get 3 days to make sure you like your car. You can turn it back to them. If you don't, nobody ever really does that because the cars are so great. So join me, my beautiful wife, Vivian, my mom, lots and lots of my friends. Now we can even say guests of the show. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Remember, always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. Hey everybody, Jim Freed here. I'm the founder of Sandstone Realty Advisors. We help families, real estate operating companies, real estate operators, investors, all the silos in real estate. We help them come together. We're a nexus for information and relationships, and that's pretty handy right now as the real estate capital markets freeze up. You've heard us talk about some of our innovative new ideas that we have to help our customers. I'm actually meeting with the family later this week to talk about helping them put together their real estate fund, and they'll have a lot of dry powder to do real estate transactions with in the coming months and years. Capital markets are frozen. We have very creative solutions, everything from debt funds to high net worth investors and family offices to help you capitalize your deals or recapitalize your deals in many cases right now. The rising interest rates have caused many different issues to come to the forefront. I've seen it all before. I've got the gray hair to prove it. Reach out to me, DM me, give me a call. Remember, my personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by giving them peace of mind by solving their problems. And remember, whenever you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we're back, and we're going to interview Simon Coffsky. Simon's a student at the University of Georgia. He's an economics major. He's got, he's my nephew. He was my intern over the summer last year. He surveyed a bunch of different things in the real estate and business community, and he's decided to do economics. Unfortunately, he chose the University of Georgia. Sorry, Simon. Just kidding, of course. Hey, where's Simon, by the way? I wanted to see his face when I did that.
There we go.
There he is. Hey, Simon, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're looking good,
Great.
looking like a student. The reason that I wanted to do this segment with you is because we've been texting back and forth and talking on the phone about your class with big data and technology and how it applies to different roles in business. I know this summer you're going to be doing some risk management, big data evaluation. Tell me a little bit about what you've been studying and what you're going to be doing this summer and why you've chosen this, because I'm going to out myself. When you said you wanted to do big data and study big data to me 2 years ago, I went like this. Why would you want to do that? And now I totally get it. So help this old dog learn some new tricks.
Right. So definitely when I picked big data and economics and all this, I thought I was getting into more of a major of sitting in front of a computer and doing boring numbers every day that really mean nothing. And I think my coursework this semester has really taught me that pretty much any problem you want to solve in business can be solved with analytics. And I think it's important to realize with interest rates rising, it looks like we're going into a recession, and maybe there's not going to be as many jobs when I graduate. I think the skills that I'm developing in analytics, I'll be able to take to any company and apply them in many ways across any field and create some sort of real utility and added efficiency to that company. I think, last night we were watching the basketball game with my roommates, and it's interesting because every little play nowadays is driven by analytics. The Warriors won 3 championships because of great players, but because they used analytics and said, we're going to run these plays where we shoot from these spots, and our expected value of points from these spots versus these spots is going to be higher than the other team. And maybe we won't win them all, but we'll win 70 out of 80 of them. And so I think that's very interesting that these skills I'm getting, I can take into absolutely any company and find some real utility.
So let's talk a little bit about what the term big data means to you. And you're using the term analytics. We had Sam on before. Sam aggregates the big data. I know you've talked to the folks at Inveniam about that too.
Yeah.
I tried to get Sam to stay on, but he had a conference call. He couldn't go. So he asked me to say hi, by the way. So what is big data and what are analytics and how will that be applied at the place you're going to work this summer?
Yeah. So big data is very broad. When some people hear it, they might think going through a ton of surveys and finding what you want. They might think taking all kinds of big numbers and doing things. But I think from what I've learned in my classes, there are 4 steps to big data and the analytics process. The first step being generation. So generating the data, actually going out and taking surveys and collecting everything you need, or like Sam does with these buildings, putting in the technology that will collect whatever information you need to continue on your analytical process. And that is something that I've learned a little bit about, but not too extensively. I don't really want to do that part of it. However, it's very important in any big data, any statistic, any cause and explanation you're looking at, to understand how the data was collected and make sure it was collected correctly, because if that step is wrong, everything else is wrong and everything else is inaccurate. The next step would be collection, which is taking this big list of generated data and surveys and numbers and this and that, and turning it into the actual numbers you need. So last semester we did a lot of R coding for this, and we would create new variables, select the ones we need, cut out the ones we don't, maybe put a filter, only people between salaries of 50,000 to 150,000. That takes out half the data, and you're only worrying about the things you're worrying about. So that's definitely another step I'm very interested in, but there's a lot of hard coding behind that I don't think I'd be as interested in. But again, if you don't know exactly how that works and how to do it, then your explanations will make no sense and be incorrect. Pretty much every step leads to the next. And even if you don't want to do it, you need to know how it's done and how it's done correctly. And then the next step is analytics. So to finally take this structured data and put it into graphs, t-tests, p-tests, whatever you need to find whatever value you're looking for. And then the final step is communication and exchange, which is going to be, okay, so I got 0.7 from my survey and graph and this and that numbers. What does 0.7 really mean? Well, 0.7 is the amount of dollars you'll get from making 1 additional cup. Things like that. Also, it's very important when you're in this exchange part. That's the part that I really want to explore. I think there's a big gap between the everyday person who wants to make their company more efficient and wants to improve all these little things, but they don't know the coding. They don't know what these numbers mean. And even if they did know what these numbers mean, they don't know how to use them to effectively impact their business. So I think that's the most important step and the one that I'm really focusing on. And I think a big thing I'm learning with that is you have to try a lot of things with data. You're not going to be given, like I am in school, okay, find this problem, find the value. What's that going to mean? You need to think of causes and effects, and you can test different causes and how they affect something. And intuitively, sometimes all these things, there might be more accidents cause interest rates to rise. Well, I don't think those are affected. So also there's some intuition you need to use to determine which causes and effects actually apply with each other. But pretty much any data is getting through all those steps. Any big data is getting through all those steps and finding a cause and effect and analyzing it to kind of manipulate what that effect will be in the future. And then as for this summer, I do not know exactly what I'm going to be doing with Brown & Brown in terms of that, but I do know that with these skills I've learned of maximizing production, maximizing production, minimizing costs, quantity to cost ratios, that kind of thing, the stuff I just took a test on in class. With those skills, I could go in and look at the numbers of any company, even though, we're not hiring because we're doing layoffs in this and that industry. Well, I think someone like me with these skills could come in and find many, many, many unique ways to increase efficiency.
Well, I think that that's true. As I reflect on my past career, as you and I are talking, I did something very similar. I did feasibility studies for real estate. We would collect data. We would do surveys. I would make the questionnaire. Then I would ask the questions. Then I would get the data. And I had clients like Disney and other real estate developers. And we would use that data to answer questions for them. In many cases, the questions were intuitively obvious, but because we had the data to back that up, the executives that we were working for were able to make better decisions and to defend the decisions that they were making. And so as I reflect on it, again, this old person really does understand that exactly where you're coming from. So I really do appreciate your insights, Simon. So you think that being in big data and analytics is really something that you're glad you decided to study and you didn't listen to your old uncle over here, huh?
Yeah, and I think in finding a job, I knew I would want to do something creative. And I always thought of big data as not creative. But like you just said, in order for executives to make creative decisions and new decisions, there has to be the person that understands the data and is able to say to the guy who's running the company and has done this industry for 30 years and is convinced he does it right and there's no way it can be done better. Like you just said, show them the numbers and there's a real way to do it. And then also, I think it's important with ChatGPT, AI, and all that stuff. I think it was ChatGPT had 100 million users in the first month of integration. It's going to be the next text. It's going to be the next email, phone call, internet. So as much as all of this might be a little confusing and a lot to some people, you have to get on it now and understand how to use it, or else these will be the things taking people like mine's job. And if I don't want ChatGPT taking my job, then I need to learn how to use that as a tool to make myself and it more efficient.
Yeah, and I believe that it's being interpretive and interpreting the results. As you know, I'm going to put you together with other people we know that are getting PhDs in data analytics. I really want to put that together. Send me an email about that so I can get that to happen. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to talk personal here on the podcast, but we have other people that we know that are getting PhDs in data analytics, and it's actually taking them on the income path way past people that have traditional jobs like lawyers, doctors, and accountants. Simon, thank you so much. It's great to see you. Glad that you had a good time today taking that test. Glad that you're going to get the chance to work for Brown & Brown. I'm very proud of you for landing that position at one of the global leaders in that case, property insurance. I look forward to seeing you when I get up there to Atlanta. Hopefully you'll come down through here back to the Keys this summer. And high five to you, your whole family. Your dad must be really proud of you getting that internship at Brown & Brown. I'm sure it was competitive.
Mm-hmm. I'm very excited for all of it. I have a lot of good things coming up.
You sure do. You're one of the good things in my life. Thank you so much for being there, Simon. Mr. Mendoza, I think it's kind of time to wrap up. Simon, stick with us in the green room. We'll talk right after we end the show. I want to thank our guest, Sam Grossman, the Managing Director for Real Estate and Data at Inveniam. Can't wait to see Sam again. Also, a shout out to Marshawn and the rest of our friends at Inveniam. I want to thank Simon Coffsky and his friends. Simon Coffsky, the student at UGA. Hold on. That's for Simon. Go Gators. I want to thank all of you for listening. It's been a great show about the future and the future of the future. I'd like to remind everybody that we drop our new podcast every week, Wednesdays at noon. I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry. They've been sponsors for over a decade. We love being part of the Warren Henry family. I have my Warren Henry water today to help me over the hump. And I want to thank Larry, Eric, and the rest of the team, Ismet, Maytal Stark, everybody there, Jack, all of our good friends, Gio, all the people over there that help us be part of the Warren Henry family. And I want to remind everybody that the person that wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you. God bless America.